Hello, thank you for joining me on the Private Investigator Experience podcast today. I'm your host, Phil Little. I'm going to be looking at a couple of issues that are happening right now in current events in our nation. I look at the cases and files of our clients that we've worked and how we work them and look at issues out around the world and do deep dive investigations onto issues that pop up. Oh, and sometimes it come from you, the viewers and listeners that let us know what you would like to know more about. First off, I want to thank all of you who have been subscribing and signing up and sharing and helping us grow the channel. It has been a great blessing. Thank you so much. For we want to do better and bigger things as we go on. And it's all about having the viewers and the watch time to make that happen. Also, I want to encourage you. I remember when I wrote my first book, finally did back in 2006. I was told, "Why don't you write a book?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not a writer. I can't write a book." And I discovered when a friend told me just do an outline like you were doing a weekend seminars. I'd done hundreds of meetings, been on television and hosted radio and television and shows, and done numerous 75 or so appearances on all the networks over the years about terrorism and stalkers and all that thing. And so I decided, okay, I did that outline and I saw the chapters. So I did my first book and did two more. And the same thing happened with the podcast. I had friends telling me, one of the same people, John Paylo, that had told me about challenging me to write a book, said, "Phil, you need to do a podcast." I said, "I don't know how to do that. I don't know anything about it." Finally, though, with my son Wade's help, we looked into it and found that with the abilities and technologies there are companies like Descript that I use. There's three, four, five of those that you can do all your editing simple. You can record and edit on, and then like Buzzsprout, which I use, and there's some others that will post to all of the different podcasts to host. You just one click and they take care of it for you. And also it's one click from Descript to YouTube. As I told people back then, everyone has a book in them. I believe everyone watching me, you've got a podcast in you. When you look at the podcasts that are going on, hey, take a look, get involved, have some fun, find a new career that you can share your knowledge with people. As I look at this first situation, it reminds me when I first got started in counterterrorism and international work, it was out of going to Israel and Lebanon. I was on the board of High Adventure Ministries with George Otis, and we were in Israel and wound up going into southern Lebanon, meeting Major Haddad, winner of Free Lebanon. And we ultimately got involved and built a radio station there and then ultimately a television station. And this was 77, like 78 was when the radio station started building. And Carter was president at that time, and his State Department ordered us not to do it. They said, "Stay out. Don't get involved." Nobody else was helping. Only the Israelis were helping the Christians who were being slaughtered by the PLO at that time. And we said, "No, thank you. We don't work for you. Actually, you work for us." So we went in, built a station, and got involved. But as I traveled out around the world at that time, the United States was laughed at. Carter was very weak. As an example of many things they did, selling the Panama Canal for $1, letting people get away with things that hurt the U.S. Even though, yeah, he was a good man, he had good ideas and probably did some good things, but he also did some things that really hurt all of us. And it was, excuse me, you wanted to keep your head down sometimes when I was out around the world. They said, "Oh, you're an American. Oh." And they started talking about how in the world did you elect somebody like this? Then when Reagan came in, that all turned around so fast. And suddenly we started getting looked at as the nation that we were, freedom fighters for rights for all. And we'd stand up and nobody was going to push us around. That has happened again. During the last 4 years of Biden, I had people from all over the world telling me, "Oh, Phil, what have you guys done? Why are you letting this go on?" We have changed it. And now people around the world in governments and police and military and law enforcement, it's just saying, "Wow, America's back." So here's an example of that. The U.S. strikes in Somalia, killing key ISIS figures. And this was a precision strike, using intelligence, using assets of the military and CIA and others to determine the target and then to take action. Now, interesting enough, many people would say, oh, you're attacking this foreign country. But the government of Somalia worked with the U.S. and have praised them for what they have done for and Trump helping them eradicate terrorism from the country. So this has been a positive to help bring America back to helping those that really want our help and not being afraid to pull the trigger. And we're going to see more of that. Thank God that we have now the president, defense minister, and others in place that are going to reach out and help those in need or want to help. And Somalia's president, um, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, expressed gratitude for the unwavering support of the United States in our shared fight against terrorism. And that's how it should be. And if this was the prior administration, that wouldn't have happened. So thank God, patriotic Americans, we're back and we have shown around the world in a good way, not going into places we shouldn't be, not starting fights that we could have used another means to help solve the problem. Now, the second one is about USAID, USA. Have you heard of that? I really hadn't heard the name over the years. This went back to John Kennedy that set this up during his presidency. But, I knew nothing about it. And in fact, all the work I've done in the military law enforcement intelligence service, I've never had anybody mention it, come up in a conversation or anything about it. But this agency has gone wild. Now, I'm sure it's done some good things and helped people. But this has gotten out of hand when the heads of the USA aid says, you don't have to respond to Congress. We're not going to tell you anything or show you anything. We're an independent agency, even though they were spending about 50 billion or so American dollars, your money and my money, every year. And now Elon Musk has access to their files when they refused access, even though the President of the United States ordered them. They refused. President Trump shut them down. And the security director and the assistant who were stopping the access, they were put on leave. And Musk got his access. And what we're finding out is atrocious. The amount of money that went to support and pay for things that were anti-American, supporting terrorist groups and other radicals, even in DEI and other programs that were offensive to the United States and not in the United States interest. Now, also, I heard so much when I started digging into this that they were CIA front, that they were a black ops operator. Here I get into a dilemma because I know that there's a time when black ops are needed. And I think about Israel and how they have used black ops, they've used intelligence, but they have a little different approach than ours because in Israel, the head of Mossad reports directly to the prime minister. And there is a instant chain of command that bypasses the political hierarchy and military hierarchy that goes directly to the prime minister where decisions can be made quickly. And they are so good running black ops. They always come out at some point, usually, most of them, when it's time and when it's right. So we need black ops, but how do we have black ops and other events when needed that don't come like the USA aid, which says we're going to do what we want to? Yeah, but what is taxpayer money? You don't have any control over us. That's when we're headed for problems. So I'd like your thoughts and ideas on that. How do we handle this area that's needed? And even though there's not real evidence that the CIA has used USAID to do black ops, even though there has been cooperation between the CIA and the USAID. USAID, one of the things they've done that's come out that's been published was in 2010 they set up social media accounts in Havana in Cuba. And their idea was they were going to gain a following and develop a popular uprising. I boomeranged on them. I found that sometimes government operations leave holes that blows them apart. When in the private sector, I've worked both covert, I've worked commercial cover, I've worked both sides. And when we're doing it in the private sector, we have to make sure that we have every hole covered, that there isn't any place for exposure because we don't have the government backing us up. We don't have unlimited deep holes of money that can protect us. So we have to be very careful that not only when we're backstopping an agent down to outward things and not allowing exposure. There was about 40,000 Cubans or so that was on this social media when it collapsed. And of course, then Havana came in and swooped it up. And they knew then where these 40,000 people were, who they were, what their ideas were, how they were against the government. And this caused the demise of many of these people. Now, we know the USA has done probably some good things along, like I said, but they've also got into funding all kinds of things that weren't in the interest of the United States. They helped train thousands of military personnel and police officers. Seems like a good thing, right? But in Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and other countries that were notorious on their treatment of political dissents, we train their officials and police and military and intelligence officials how to spy on their own people, and they went out and used it against them. That wasn't a smart use of our money, and it didn't go along with who we are as a nation, as a people. The USAID has been accused by many governments all over the world as meddling in their country, from in intelligence operations to promoting and helping build dissent against them by funding NGOs or people within their own country. We've also been funding terrorist groups, and we'll fund the worst. You've got evil, we'll just take the best of the worst and fund them. And they fund Al Qaeda, they fund other terrorist groups to help overthrow Syria. We gave them weapons, we gave them training. Come on, guys. Who thinks you can have a working relationship with a terrorist group? There's not good terrorists. There's not kind of terrorists that operate on, they're not so bad. They're not as bad as that other group. What's going on, folks? We need to stand up and get involved and find out what is going on in these groups. And thank God that we have a president and administration now that's exposing these evils by the money they spend. And I think we're going to see, as this keeps coming out from USAID, that we're going to be blown away by the amount of money that's been spent and what we're going to be able to save by getting USAID back to, if it survives. And right now it's been put under the State Department. Michael Rubio is in charge. He's assigned one of his assistants to monitor that, and as they work with the president to decide what's going to be the future and are they going to keep it, how's it going to be dealt with. But we can't have a branch of government who says we don't have any oversight. We're going to do what we want to do when we want to do. And I am appalled at so many of the other side that are crying out to keep everything like it is. I don't get this. How can anyone in their right mind want not to cut costs, to help decrease our debt, to help our citizens have what they need by cutting out billions and billions being spent on needless foreign affairs and on all the illegal immigration that money was spent on, has now been showing out of Homeland Security, what they were taking funds that should have been used to help Americans in need, and they were giving these freebies to illegal immigrants. Folks, it's time we stood up and let our voices be heard. As I've been saying, we can't just depend on there being a new sheriff in town and some righteous people being put in charge of these various government agencies. We, the people, have to keep our voices up and let our politicians know that we're watching, we're looking, and we want them to keep following the American way, which is they work for the people, not the other way around. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and you know the drill. Hit that notification bell for future posts. Also, want to mention that if it's in your family or business that you're wanting to PI help me solve some of these problems and get me the truth of what's going on, send me that information. Send it to PI777 at gmail.com. I'll look at it and I'll get back to you with possible solutions and how a PI might be able to help you. Remember, together we can make a difference. We do. Step out of the crowd and stand with us to let our voices be heard and return our government, the one of the people, by the people, for the people. May God bless you, your family. May God bless America. See you next time.